Hey guys, this is Mr. Markland with Unlimited Possibilities Martial Arts. We're coming to you guys with another video. This time the subject is on, it's on Aikido, but we're going to talk, I'm going to briefly talk about how Jiu-Jitsu and Aikido is branched out from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, and then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu branched off of that, created its own ideas, which are very similar to the Judo. And Jiu-Jitsu or Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, also Judo comes from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu from the standpoint. So it comes down and you've got the Daitoryus and all the other types of, well, mainly Daitoryu, but other types of ryu that comes off of Jiu-Jitsu. And then after that, it disseminates down into Aikido, the founder of Aikido. Now, Aikido is a little bit different than regular Jiu-Jitsu from the standpoint of distance. Founder of Aikido, when he started, he had this grand vision, and he said that he felt like he was outside and just had this big vision about life is about love and not really about conflict. And so that's where the idea of Aikido actually comes from. And then he took his training from Jiu-Jitsu and he implemented it in a little bit of a different way. It's almost the same, but it has more to do with the spacing and what they call ma'ai in Japanese, which is just distance. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and have Mr. Starr come in, help me out real fast. So like I said, one of the main differences when we talk about Aikido is the distancing, okay? And you could even say the footwork, because that has to do directly with the distancing, right? So if I'm here, okay, so we've got this distance, he's facing me, blah, 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 okay? If he steps forward to come after me, and I open up like this, this creates, this is a tenkan move, what they call a turning move, stepping out. So he comes in and I step out like this. Now he's allowing me to step and pushing directly where I'm at, okay? In real life, a lot of times you might not have the awareness, because in order to pull that type of move off, if someone's pushing you and for you to move, you either have to know that he's going to push you early, you have to be aware of reading body language really well, and you have to know, okay, this person, they're pushing you, and then you step. You see what I'm saying? I did that a little bit late, but you guys see what I'm saying, right? Or you have to create more distance and then step out of the way. So he comes in, I step back, and then I step out of the way, okay? So it's more like this, okay? So he can go ahead and touch me on the shoulders. Good. So he pushes me there, right? Let's get back just a bit. So he gave me a good push, right? That's it. That was early. Good. I could feel him coming. So that's the other thing, is being able to feel the person coming, right, as they come. So this distance part is very important, okay? Once the distance part happens, then you have the where you're coming together or you're making contact, right? So he comes in, let's say I miss on my distance, I'm not aware enough, right? So he comes in and he pushes, he makes actual contact with me, right? Then that's when some of the other techniques come in as far as the movement. The main thing, the main difference is understanding the distance and be able to move. The other thing that Aikido does is a little bit different, is they do irimi, which means entering, okay? So what that means is, go ahead and scoot back a little bit. If he's coming in to attack, and I go in, straight in like this, I'm entering off his attack, right? But the way I'm gonna actually do it, but not push on his head, I'm gonna push on his chest. So he comes in to push, and I come like this. I'm gonna push. Or I could take a slight angle, okay? So I'm not, as he's coming in, he's pushing me, that's what he's doing, okay? And I'm coming straight in, so he can't actually do that move, okay? But because I'm coming in early, just a little bit early, it's stopping him from being able to complete his push. And this is another, like I said, distancing. This is another part of being aware that this person's coming in, and me coming in first, what they call entering, okay, in Aikido. So these two basic principles of ma'ai, or distance, are really important in Aikido, because it helps set the foundation of what you want to do. the wrist locks and everything else, and joint locks and all the techniques are just kind of secondary to this, okay? So the distancing is really important. A lot of people don't talk about that. They just see guys run out of an Aikido and they go like this, and they flip them around and do all this stuff, right? But it's not really about the flipping them around and all that stuff. Aikido is mostly about distance, okay? So even if we go back to the point, even if he comes in and he actually, let's say I'm late on perceiving his movement, right? So he comes in and I get pushed just a little bit, right? I can actually use different techniques to continue to move. So I'll show you an example. Don't know if you guys saw that one. So he comes in to push and I'm late to move out of the way, okay? So I can use different techniques to be able to throw him, that sort of thing, to move him out of the way, okay? And you see that it almost looks like wrestling, right? So if we were here and he comes in the push and I come here and I drop like this, I can do a wrestler's grab. And I can start to pick him up and throw him that way, okay? It's similar except you're not touching, so there's no weight going on here. So even if he touches, then there's things that I can do to move him out of the way so that he's not, all his force isn't going into him. So that's if you're not aware enough and they make contact and their force actually goes into you, okay? Now, the key is not to let that happen. That's what you're trying to do. So if he comes in again, I want to move to where the force doesn't even come into me. This is what I'm trying to do. Then all the techniques come off of that. Okay. He comes in again, maybe I come here, right? You see some of, I think Steven Seagal does this. I'm not saying that Steven Seagal is great or anything. I'm just saying he does this technique, okay? So he comes in and he'll go here and he'll go here, right? He'll do that move. Okay, so any of those moves where you're drawing them in and then maybe you're throwing them back, right? Or you're entering, which is what that move is. That's all the basis of that is distance, okay, and understanding distance. Everything else is, if you miss the distance, if you're not aware of it, if you're not keeping it properly, then you have to do other things, and that's where the other techniques come in, right? Okay, one of the main basic techniques that I like to show is lifting like this and rotating, so I'll do this one. So he comes in, and I'll lift. What I want to do is bend him over like this, okay? So I can do this here, come here if I want to grab with this hand, right? So this time push, like this. You guys see that? How I took him back over, okay? Now again, I know that he's coming. This is the point, is the being aware of when he's coming. And again, remember you can use distance, so he can come again. I can step back, and that makes it easier for me to be able to redirect his hand into that motion, right? So I can take a small step back as he comes in, and then I can go into the move. That's what allows that move to work. It's not, a lot of people say it's fake and blah, 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 but it's really distancing, understanding the distance, okay? Now, this is if someone's pushing. What I hear a lot of people say, what if they're boxing? Like that, right? Well, again, distance. This is very important. So if he's boxing at me, I want to keep the distance, right? And then the other part that comes in is the skill. Do you have skill to keep your hands up? Do you have skill to deal with the boxer? Do you train with going against the boxer? This is important because if you don't do that, then you won't be aware enough to be able to deal with boxing hands that go back and forth, right? So if he's coming in like this, like that, see? You've got to be able to have your hands up there so you can deal with that, okay? Thankfully, my students, we train in Wing Chun and boxing, so it makes it a lot easier. He's coming in, how we can, see? How we can do more of that kind of stuff. However, in Aikido, what you would do is get distance, right? And then you go into your techniques, okay? The distance is really the more important thing. Understanding the right distance and moving at the right distance and being able to do that without thinking, okay? So anyway, that's what I wanted to do on Aikido, mainly just to show how it works, because I always hear people say Aikido doesn't work. But instead of trying to figure out how something doesn't work, it would be better if we figured out how it did work, because that's going to help us, okay? Because if we can just use a tiny bit of it, that's all you need, right? If you feel like you can't use any of it, then that's up to you. But if you can just use a tiny bit of Aikido, very good. It'll help you throughout your martial arts endeavors. Okay, so that's it for this video. We'll see you guys on the next video.